Would you mind just telling us about yourself?
Yeah, my name's Tim Lodgen, born and raised in Baltimore, Maryland. Just turned 48 this year. I survived 27 years of addiction, mental health, and alcoholism. And I found purpose through my pain. My mess became my message, and now I know it's my job to show people that it's okay to deal with mental illness and addiction, and that it doesn't have to be a death sentence. It's something that we can strive to become better and change our lives.
What was your childhood like?
My childhood was actually really good. 6 years old, my mother and my father did divorce.
Mhm.
Now, for me as a 6-year-old little boy, I thought it was my fault. I have a brother who's 11 years older than me, and I figured my father left because I wasn't a good boy. I didn't do my chores. I didn't listen. I wasn't good in school. Why would he stick around for my brother, who was almost a senior in high school, but he left me in first grade?
Mhm.
What was wrong with me? Why didn't he love me enough to stick around? My mother did a great job raising me. She made sure I was always active in sports. She got 2 and 3 jobs to support the family and really made sure I was loved. She took the role of a father and a mother at the same time. It was a good childhood. We weren't poor. We didn't, lights were never shut off. I may not have had the best clothes. I may not have had the cool gadgets growing up, but she really went out of her way and above to make sure I had a good life.
What was your happiest moment in your childhood?
In my childhood, I remember when I turned 10, I remember my mom waking me up and she's like, "You're 10 years old now." Let me ask. She's like, "You're double digits. You'll never go back. You'll never be single digits again." And we have a place down here in Virginia, and she made a whole weekend. She took me to King's Dominion, which is a big amusement park. She just really made me feel special, and it was kind of like you're no longer single digits. You're 10, and you have 3 years to become a teenager. You're like really growing up. It was also the year that she got a second job and started putting herself through college and really showing me that you can turn the worst things into the best opportunities. She has been my biggest supporter, my hero, to be honest with you. I mean, when my father left, she made $10,000 the first year, barely kept the lights on, and by the time I graduated high school, she was a multimillionaire.
Wow.
Put herself through college, got a master's degree. She became the first female vice president of her entire company, all while working a second job. And it just showed me that no matter what, you can pull yourself out. It's all up to you. You can either let like life keep you down and you sit down there and you play the victim, or you get up and you make something of yourself.
What were your dreams in high school? Like when you were going to school or even in your adolescence, what did you want to be when you grow up? What was like your true ultimate desire?
And when I was a little kid, I wanted to be a doctor. When I started playing sports, I wanted to be an athlete.
Hmm.
And then by the time I got into high school, I honestly just wanted to be rich and famous, and I didn't know how. I wanted to act. I did modeling here and there, just trying to become known, and which is kind of ironic
Hmm.
because I was doing it for the wrong reasons, which I never got anything back from it. Here I am sober, and I'm just sharing my story for the right reasons and positivity. And I just filmed a TV show that's going to be aired on Amazon Prime within 2 weeks.
Hmm.
So it's kind of funny how that turned around and came back to me because I'm not looking for fame. I'm not looking for fortune. I'm looking to help people for the right reasons, and all these opportunities keep coming towards me. It's the thing my mom always said, it's better to give than to receive. But growing up, until even throughout my 30s, 20s, 30s, and 40s, until I got sober, it was give me, give me, give me. I want more and more and more and more until I got sober, got my mental health in check, and now I just want to give, 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 and I get more in return than I ever could imagine.
Did your addiction start in high school?
My senior year of high school, so elementary, middle, if you did drugs or smoked or drank, I thought you were wasting your life and I didn't want to be around you.
Mm.
Summer before senior year, I realized I was an average student, and college was probably not going to happen to me unless I went to community college. And for me to go to community college, I would have had to get a second job. A lot of my friends were partying, and I really didn't want to be a part of that scene. So the summer before senior year, I figured I was going to join the military. I had a lot of seniors that were friends. They were going in the Marine Corps. My father, my brother, and both my grandfathers were in the Army. I didn't want to follow their path. I wanted to do something different. That's a whole nother mindset for me. I'm always 100 miles an hour. I always have to be the best. I always have to do the hardest things. I always have to excel at stuff. And for me, the Marine Corps was the top-notch military branch. So that's what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
Going into senior year, I had already signed up. I was in the DEP programs, the late entry program. So I already knew once I graduated, I'm leaving 2 weeks out of high school. Like, there was no summer for me. There was no partying. There was no nothing. So I figured I would have some fun my senior year. Started going to parties, started drinking. And for me, the alcohol, once I consumed the alcohol, my walls fell down. I was like, well, what else is at this party? Shit's gonna hit the fan. I'm going in the military at the end of school. Let me have some fun. So started smoking pot. LSD was huge in the 90s, so I started tripping a lot. Mushrooms. Believe it or not, PCP was huge in my year of high school. Started doing that. K2. Raves had just started in the early 90s, so raves were big. We would go there and do now that I'm looking back at it, it was speed or meth to stay up all night and party. And so I did a little bit of everything, cocaine. The only really drug I've never touched or wanted to or had any desire to do was heroin. But that whole senior year, the summer before senior year, going into senior year, it was partying, drinking, it was drugs the entire year. Yeah, because to me it was a phase. Let me get it out of my system because I can't do this at the end of the year.
So what happened when you joined? When you have to then get sober when you join the military, right? And it's just the cold turkey. How was that transition?
About 2 weeks before I went to boot camp, actually 2 months before I went to boot camp, not 2 weeks. 2 months before I went to boot camp, I was involved in a pretty bad, violent altercation. And I was facing some years in jail. I assaulted somebody and I was charged with assault and battery and attempting to maim him for life. That was a kind of a wake-up call because I was drinking, I was at a party.
How'd you get out of that?
I was going in the Marine Corps. It's the only reason I got out of it.
Your recruiter came and
All three of my recruiters, and
they're like, this is who we want for the Marine Corps.
yeah, no, I was sitting in front of the judge, and the judge like, you're 18. I was like, no, sir, I got 2 more weeks till I'm 18. And they all three stood up. They were like, Your Honor, he's a property of the United States Marine Corps on June 6th. And the Honor's like, he's what? And they're like, he leaves in 2 weeks, sir. And he's like, okay, he's your problem now. Boom. That's the only reason I didn't get any jail time.
Do you think you seem to be going really hard before you're going to, boot camp. Did you not care even about the possibility of maybe like not being allowed to go or getting into so much trouble as to where you're disqualified from going? Was that a thought during that whole time?
No, and what I realize still now with 3 years and 7 months sober is I'm still learning to think about the consequences before the action.
I see. Okay.
I ride my bike fast, and it's the adrenaline, I don't know if it's just who I am, the near-death kind of a thing and being in control of your life until something bad happens. It's kind of like I enjoy that. I didn't really think about the consequences. This guy was talking shit about me, and then I wanted to remind him of who he was talking shit about. And then I got in trouble, and then I was like, oh shit.
Yeah.
I could have just jeopardized my future.
Yeah, it just wasn't, I get it.
Yeah.
You just can't really see that far.
No, which is a good and a bad thing. Because I suffer with bipolar disorder. So I can be either really down where I don't want to do anything at all, or I can be in these manic states where you can't talk me down at all. It actually helped me in the Marine Corps. I graduated top 5 in my whole class. I became the company guide. So you have your squad leaders, your guide, and then you have the company guide, which is the guide for all three platoons. I was follow series. I was in charge of all three platoons. It was like one of the highest honors besides Iron Man, and I just excelled at every single thing in boot camp except for the written tests, which makes sense because I wasn't that good in school. But anything physical, taking direction, leadership, I was top of my class. When I didn't want to do something or something didn't go my way, it was all my fault. Forget the platoon, forget the rest of the baseball team, football team, everything was falling on me. But when we did good, it was all because of me. Win, lose, or draw, I had a part to play in it, and I always put everything on me.
Do you still do that?
I do. And I've had many conversations with my current girlfriend about my marriage coming to an end and how I still take blame in the reason why it ended, when it was more than just my fault. It was a accumulation of two people going separate ways and doing their own things and not realizing the importance of a relationship or marriage or not caring.
So we'll get to that part too, right? Since that's kind of a big part that you're going through right now, which is a huge transition for anybody,
Yeah.
regardless of where they're at, mental health. Breakups are tough, especially those from long relationships. But you join the Marine Corps, you excel in there because you have intangibles of a Marine, right?
Right.
But then you get out, and then other things start to happen, and then I guess you're forced to deal with these mental health issues that you've had, and you go through that journey. Can you walk us through that a little bit?
Yeah. So before I got out, our unit was deployed to Somalia for 6 months. Now this was right after the war. We were there as a peacekeeping mission, but I got to see the ramifications of what war does to a country, its people, its building, its atmosphere, and I didn't think.
Can you describe that a little bit for us? I think.
So, as an 18-year-old young man, if people aren't aware of what the military do, is they take you down to nothing and they build you up to something that they need. And what they needed was killers. The Marine Corps is based on being the best, first ones in, taking care of business, leaving and letting the Army clean up the mess. So we were bred, I will say that because that's where we are, to be straight up just ruthless killers and have no emotion, do the mission, get out at all costs, and go home. Seeing, I don't care who you are, whether you're in the military or not, seeing blown up bodies, dead babies, affects you forever. I don't care how old you are, thinking of those things and seeing them, like it just hit me, like just rushed back. I can vividly see dead people and bodies and brains and stuff like that, and I don't think I've really actually talked about that. So coming home, I wasn't the same when I got back into country. Quickly, within 6 months, I realized that I no longer was mentally capable to stay a Marine. And I believe my gunny and my commander saw the same thing. So I started seeing a chaplain, started going to the psychiatrist, and 2.5 years out of my 4, they deemed me mentally not able to continue my MOS as an 0311 infantryman. So they gave me some couple options. I could change my MOS, become motor T, a pogue, a person other than a grunt, any type of paperwork and stuff like that. And to me, I was like, no, I joined the military to kill. I joined the military to be 0311. Like anything else is less than. That's just my mentality. So 2.5 years, I was honorably discharged. If you look underneath, it's got a little code on there. It says mentally unfit for service. But I was honorably discharged. Came home. I had about 2 years saved up from Montgomery GI Bill because I
How
signed up.
tough was dealing with that discharge?
I still deal with it. Something I didn't fulfill. Something that haunts me. I failed. But I don't think, I don't know. I've never wanted to think about it because it's a big failure for me. Even though I did 2.5 of 4, I was supposed to do 4. That's what I signed up for. That's what I said I was going to do. The 2.5 out of 4 is kind of
Life.
Yeah.
So you get out. You have the discharge. What happens then?
I come home and I'm 21. I'm living at my mom's house. Actually, the first month was kind of great. I didn't have to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning, have to run 3 miles a day, and have to shave, wear a uniform. That was kind of like a release. I was out. I didn't have to do anything. I wasn't obligated to do certain things every day at a certain time and answer to somebody every single second. The second month kind of hit me, and I'm like, oh shit, I'm 21. I have no car. I have no job. I have no identity. I was supposed to be in the Marines. I'm a failure. I'm a loser. The third month hit, and I fell into a huge depression. I stopped showering. I stopped shaving. Shit, no drug test. I started doing pain pills again, smoking pot and tripping and drinking every day. And I found myself one day, I go into my father's armoire and I grab his Glock and I sit it on my lap. Thank God I had the right mind to call my girlfriend at the time, and I said, hey, I don't know what's going on, but I'm staring at a gun. I don't know if I'm going to use it or not, but I need help. She was at the apartment in 5 minutes. She takes the gun from me, talks to me a little bit, and when my mom got home that evening, she comes in the door and I said, there's something wrong. I need to see somebody. I didn't tell her I just had a gun in my lap a couple hours earlier. She would have had me committed, and I wasn't trying to go down all that whole road. But what she did was made some appointments for some doctors, and I got in to see some doctors that week, and they diagnosed me with bipolar 1 manic depressive disorder. Their first thing is they want to put you on medicines. Now, what I always tell people is if I don't care what the medicines are, if it's for high blood pressure, your heart, cancer, brain tumor, I don't care what it is. Be honest with your doctors. Because I wasn't telling them I was taking pain pills or tripping or smoking pot or drinking alcohol every day. So when I would go back for the 30, 60, 90-day checkup, whenever they wanted to see me again to see how the medicines were working, well, they weren't. I was worse. And they couldn't pinpoint why. Maybe that was on the wrong medicines. Maybe the cocktail medicines that they gave me just wasn't fitting who I was. So they would change my medicines, change the dosages, really try to figure out why they weren't working. It's all because I was ingesting drugs and alcohol. Those medicines are not designed to work at all with drugs and alcohol in your system.
So you have to be sober if you're taking those medications.
Yeah, but for...
How many people do you think actually do that? And would you say that that's a reason? I have friends who have bipolar. Would you say that's a reason that they struggle with?
100%. 100%. I'm 3 years, 7 months sober. The medicine works. And I'm on 5 milligrams of Lexapro. 5. It's the lowest. As a matter of fact, 8 months ago, I stopped taking my medicines. I'm not on any bipolar medicines or psychoactive medicines whatsoever. Eating right, sleeping, exercising, meditating, doing a lot of self-care things, going to meetings, or all changes your life.
Yeah, it's a lifestyle.
It's a lifestyle. So exercise daily, eat healthy, get your 8 hours of sleep. The physical part of your body changes, your mind changes, the chemicals in your brain come back. Medicine is there to help you, I believe, transition into a healthier, happier life. Unless you're dying and need them to survive, I think they're there to transition you back into being a healthy, cognitive, person. If you have anxiety and you need them, absolutely, but there's also ways to diminish your anxiety. There's natural ways to diminish your anxiety. Breathing techniques, 15 minutes away from your phone in a dark atmosphere, quiet. Like there's ways to combat the racing thoughts in your head, which for me, it was, I'll take a Percocet or a Xanax, and in 15 minutes, I ain't got to worry about nothing. Screw all these 100 things I'm thinking about. But they work. If you do and take them as prescribed, they work. The drugs and the alcohol counteract it. And for me as an addict, all you gotta do is turn around the bottle and it says alcohol and drugs may intensify this effect. Well, let's go. You know, if it's gonna make these drugs better, then I'll take 2 of them. But that on and off of medicines, the up and down of cycles, the milligrams, that went on from the 21 until the age of 44. 23 years on and off of medicines. And I was a typical bipolar person. I would take them for 6, 7 months and start feeling great. So why the hell do I need these medicines? Because everything was feeling great. I don't need them. No, it's because the medicines were actually working a little bit. But it's so much fun and easier to self-medicate when you don't want to take the medicines. On top of the fact that I was ashamed that I had to take medicine to feel like a normal person. Why was I born this way? Why do I have a chemical imbalance to where if I don't take this medicine, I could either be suicidal or I could be so manic that you can't stop me from doing. Why was I born like that? I was ashamed. Something I've been able to get over. I was born like that because I am different, and God gives us warriors the toughest battles.
I don't need those toughest battles. You know, I've seen that saying a lot, and I think it's true to a degree. You know, I think we all get our things that we have to go through in life, but there's people who are going through so much, and I don't like to construe that God is giving this to you for you to go through. I think it's just life, you know. I think that's just the hands we're dealt, and how we in turn pursue those or address those issues is where I see God. You know, how those issues are addressed is the love of God for me. But you go to your for 20 plus years.
23.
23 years, because you're not honest with your doctors, with your actual lifestyle. They're fluctuating your dosages back and forth and trying to different medications. What happens when kind of that breaks apart and falls apart? What happened then?
Well, I went through from age of 21 to 44, 46 jobs. Wasn't able to hold a job. Constantly called out, or my anxiety would spike, or I didn't like the job, or they wanted me there on a weekend and I'm not doing that, or the boss was an asshole, or all these different reasons on why. But it was because I was a drug addict and alcoholic, and my medicines were making me crazy, or my medicines didn't work. It was always an excuse of why I couldn't get my life in order. And it all goes back to the fact that the drugs and the alcohol were not properly allowing the medicines to work. You know, mental health is 9 times out of the 10 why people unfortunately become addicts. Mental health stems from your lifestyle, period. You know, you can be the richest person in the world, have the most beautiful wife, and when the lights go out, you're the most miserable, loneliest person ever. Because you're not happy inside. There's something else going on. All that exterior stuff is trying to fill a void.
How do you fill that void?
By starting to love yourself and who you are.
How do you do that?
Accepting your past. Accepting the path that was laid out for you. I truly believe that our life has already been written. Letting go of past disappointments. Letting go of the woulda, coulda, shouldas. Knowing that the future is not promised. You know, depression is living in the past. Anxiety is living in the future. past is done. It's over with. You can't bring it back. I have no idea if I'm going to make it home when I leave this interview. I have no idea if I'm going to have a heart attack tonight. Today is the only day that matters. Stay in today and don't even worry about that. Just live today. That's why, it's called the present. It's a gift. Tomorrow is not promised. I always lived at, well, if I would have done this, that would have been better. Or I should have done this, my life would have been this way. No, it is what it is. It's meant to be how it's meant to be. Be at peace with it. Be okay with it. Did I want to ruin a 28-year marriage with 3 kids? No, but I didn't. But if that wouldn't have happened, I wouldn't have met probably the best girl I've ever met in my entire life. Things happen for a reason. They don't happen to you, they happen for you.
That's a whole mental shift, right, in perception.
Perception.
And we can say that like mentally, we can say that, right? But for someone to feel that these things are happening for me is very different than to think that. How do you feel that? And how does that feel? To feel that, hey, like, I am here in the present. Things are going to be okay. Things are unfolding for me. How was it getting to that kind of state of perception and then feeling that?
It took me a good 1.5 to 2 years of sobriety to get to that point. Constant meetings, constant reading, constant therapists, constant looking back at my life of how it was, where it could be, why things were happening. I was always the glass half full guy my entire life. I was never happy. Ever. I wanted a full glass. I wanted it cold. I want ice cubes in it. And I want a refill when I'm done. The fact is, that's what I wanted. It's not what I needed. I just need something in the cup to wet my mouth. That's all I need. Wanting is a dark path. I compared out. I have friends who are millionaires, nice cars, Mercedes, Porsches, this, that, and the other. Why wasn't I this? Why? I don't need that. I need a roof over my head. I need purpose. I was a commercial carpenter. I made 6 figures. I had boats. I had motorcycles. I had a cool car. I had a nice big house at one point. And I was fucking miserable. And I was sad. And I was depressed. And I was always looking for more and more and more. Even though I had some cool things at one point, it still wasn't enough. I'm 3 years, 7 months into it. I live in an apartment with my girlfriend. I'm the happiest I have ever been at 48 years old. I don't have a big, huge house. My boats are gone. I still have my cool old car. I do have a nice Harley. But that's like, I'm good. You change your perception and the world around you changes. It truly does. The guy that cut you off at the red light, 9 times out of 10, he's probably just an asshole and don't know how to drive.
Yeah.
But that 1%, he could have just got fired from a job after 25 years. He could have got a phone call that his wife was killed in an automobile accident. His mom could be dying of cancer or take him off of life support. We don't know what somebody else is going through. So to judge and to perceive other things in life is going to bring you down a dark path of anger and manipulation and lying and cheating and just, I'm here now. I stay in my own path. I worry about me and me only. I don't allow others to affect my emotions anymore. Bruce Lee had this saying, the one who's in control of his emotions is the baddest motherfucker in the room.
What's one of the tools to do that?
Knowing who you are and knowing that when somebody calls you a name or somebody puts you down or somebody tries to make you angry, it's because they're hurt. They've been put down. They're angry.
It's not personal.
It's not personal. There's something else going on and it has nothing to do with you. 9 times out of 10, they want you to feel their pain by making you feel angry or making you upset or making you want to react to a certain situation, because then it brings them up and gives them power over you. You know, you can call me names. You can say my ex-wife is a whore. You can say I deserved it because I was a drunk alcoholic. Your opinion is, it's your opinion. You're more than welcome to have it. You know, who am I to say you can't think those things? You know, don't physically try to harm me or my kids, but you are more than welcome to say whatever you want to say to me. I'm sorry that you're hurting that bad. Maybe we can talk. Maybe we can work this out because something's going on. Has nothing to do with me.
I also know part of your story that we actually chatted about earlier when you were in a place in your life where you're asking God to, or whatever's out there, right, to help you, and you have a moment where you kind of do get that help. That's more than a little bit more than coincidental, right?
Correct. So at the age of 32, I lost my, I don't know, 30th job maybe. I'm married. I have 2 daughters, and my wife's like, "What's going on? What are you doing?" I was like, "I don't know. I can't. I don't want to work a 9 to 5 anymore. I'm like done." And she's like, "What do you want to do?" I was like, "I want to be a professional fighter." And she's like, "You're 32." And I'm like, "Yeah, but I'm still in great shape. I still go to the gym. I still spar." And she's like, "Okay, you're collecting unemployment. I'll give you a year. See what happens. If you can make something of this, then great. If not, let it go. You got to go back to work." You know, she had insurance for us, so that wasn't a big deal. I was collecting unemployment, so I started training at the local gym, ground control down in Baltimore. And within 6 months, I had my first fight. Fast forward 4 years, I'm still fighting. I'm making decent money. I'm fighting on TV. I'm fighting at casinos and fighting for belts. I turned 36, going on 37. And my last fight at Harris Casino in Philadelphia was live. I was fighting for the 155-pound belt. And I tear my rotator cuff in 3 places. Can't lift my arm. He flips me around, rear naked chokes me. I lose the match. But when I get back to the locker room, I couldn't lift my arm. My trainer had to put my shirt on me. I come out. My wife hands me a beer. She notices I can't lift my arm. And she said, "What's wrong?" I'm like, "I don't know, but I can't move my arm." She said, "That's it. You're done. You had fun. It is what it is. Go to the doctor. I have to have emergency rotator cuff surgery on my arm." That starts a 4.5 year long painful prescription addiction to Oxycontins, which in 2013 was the next best thing next to Motrin. Oxys were non-addictive. You can take them. You can stop taking them. You can get them right from your primary care physician. There was no jumping through hoops, going to a pain management clinic or going to see specialists. I could just literally go to my PCP and pick them up. Gets to the point around the beginning of March, which is ironic because now that I think about it, March 5th of 2017, I've never thought about that. Wow. March 15th of 2017, I'm sitting on my bed, and I was like, I can't do this. I don't know how to stop. I'm an addict. I've been taking this stuff for 4 years. I drink a 12-pack of beer every day, and I smoke pot. Even though this is what I'm used to, I might go to bed one night and not wake up because I'm taking so much oxys and drinking so much beer, my body's going to shut down. And I tell myself, well, screw that. If I'm going to die, I'm going to do it now. And I reach over and I grab the bottle. I dump the bottle out in my hand. I had 18 20 milligram oxys. I take all 18. I got into the living room. I guzzled a 12-pack of beer within 45 minutes. And I remember laying on the bed, and I say, "Please, God, don't let me wake up. I don't want to live this way anymore. I don't know how to stop. I just want the pain to go away." And if you've ever been depressed or hopeless, the pain I'm talking about is not a physical pain. It's a pain of despair and emptiness and darkness and not knowing how to pull yourself out of it. And you just want to be relieved from that pain of the soul, of the spirit. You just don't know how to get rid of it. So I remember I pass out. I wake up the next day. It's like 8, 9 o'clock at night. I was out for like 18, 19 hours. But my first thought was, holy shit, I didn't die. The second thought was to immediately get up and go into the bathroom and grab my refill and dump the entire thing down the toilet. I remember looking in the mirror and telling myself, this is going to get bad, but no matter how bad it gets, we're never taking pain medicine again. And for the next 10 days, I was the sickest I've ever been in my entire life, coming off of opioids of 4.5 years. The anxiety, the racing thoughts, the panics, the throwing up, the going to the bathroom, the chills, the sweats, insomnia, the whole gambit of coming off of opioids. At the end of that 10 days, I decided to get in my truck and go for a drive. We have this beautiful reservoir in Baltimore called Loch Raven, and in high school, that's where we would go cut class and drink some beers and jump in the water and smoke some pot and have some fun. So I was very familiar with going through it. Also in 1996, my best friend at the age of 18 lost control of his vehicle, hit a tree, and unfortunately died at 18 years old. So I'm driving through the reservoir, and I remember thinking at that time, there was no such thing as a higher power. There was no such thing as a God, because if there was, and he created me, then why am I suffering so bad? If he loved me, why can't I kick drugs? Why am I drinking so much? You know, why am I losing all these jobs? Why am I going through all of this torture and pain and suffering? If you love me so much, why are you doing this to me? And I was really pretty much putting the middle finger up to the sky, because I was like, screw you, you don't exist. You don't love me, or else you wouldn't be putting me through this. And I drive through the reservoir and I get to the tree where my friend lost his life. And I get out of the tree and I'm crying, and I put my hand up on the tree and I said, Bill, I don't know why I'm here. I don't know why I survived. But if there's something out there other than us, please, can you send me a sign? I don't think there is. I think I'm alone. But if there is, I just need to know that there's a sign, there's something out there that I know I'm okay, that there's something else. And I go to leave, but as I go to leave, I'm crying, my nose is running. So I pull over to the side. For some reason, I don't pull over on the right-hand side of the road. I cross traffic and I'm facing oncoming traffic. I'm wiping my eyes and blowing my nose and I'm crying, and about 5-10 minutes goes by maybe, and this car pulls up, and since he's on the right side of the road and I'm facing oncoming traffic, we're windshield to windshield. I watch the gentleman get out of his vehicle, opens the back door, grabs his dog. And as he's walking across the street where the water is, he's going to go walk his dog by the water. I'm looking at him and I'm like, man, he looks familiar. Couldn't really place it. And all of a sudden I realized, oh my God, that's my best friend's father. This is March 16th, 2017. I haven't seen this man since December 27th, 1996, the day my friend died. And I remember I get out and I look at him. I said, Mr. Bill, is that you? And he looks at me and he says, Timmy? And I said, yeah. He said, what are you doing here? What's wrong? And I fall to the curb and I start crying. I'm a drug addict. I'm an alcoholic. I tried committing suicide. I don't know why I'm here. And he walks over to me and he puts his hand on my shoulder. And he says, Timmy, I'm not supposed to be here. I had my bags packed in the back of the truck. I was supposed to leave this morning at 6:30 a.m. for a family reunion trip in Myrtle Beach. He said, but my wife came to me in a dream last night and told me to come walk the dog here at 10:30. I said, Mr. Bill, I just stopped at Billy's tree and asked him for a sign that we weren't alone, if there was something else out there. And he looks at me and he says, you're going to be okay. They're watching out over us. You're being protected. Everything's going to be all right. And we talked for about 5 minutes, and I remember I'm leaving the park, and I'm like, everything's going to be okay. I have this release, like all the weight lifted off my shoulders. Everything's going to be okay. There's something else out there. I'm being protected. And just like that, my mental health, the disease of addiction, switch my thoughts and say, you're right. Nothing has to change. You are being protected. Somebody's watching out over you. So you don't have to stop drinking and drugs, because nothing's going to happen to you. So for the next 4 years of my life, I didn't pick up another pain pill. but my alcoholism shot through the roof, and I drank the most alcohol I've ever drank in my entire life. It consumed my life.
What made you what was the breaking point in that?
The 12 to 18 beers wasn't doing it, like the Killians, the Sam Adams. My job, my production at work, I was a carpenter, so I could lose my job and go work for another company at any point. And shit, if I had a week off, that was cool. I could stay home and drink. And so I never made a really big deal about losing a job because I could just go to another contractor. But my jobs were starting to be affected. My quality of work. I'm an exceptional carpenter. I'm a master carpenter. I've been doing it all my entire life. And when my own quality of work was under, it just wasn't up to par, and I didn't care. I knew that was a problem, and then that I didn't care was a big problem. And the 12 to 18 beers weren't doing it, so I started looking at higher alcohol, the beers that had 13 to 15%, and I was still drinking 12 to 18 of those, which is basically double a Miller Lite. So if I was drinking a case of Miller Lite,
And heavy.
and really heavy,
yeah.
really heavy. So I was drinking the Flying Dogs, 11, 13, 15% beers, and I was still drinking 12 to 18 of them. And I remember I got to the liquor store one night, and I was never a liquor drinker. I didn't like whiskey, I didn't like bourbon, scotch, and I just never was. I might do a shot at somebody's birthday party once a year, but I just wasn't into vodka. I wasn't into any of that stuff. And I remember thinking, well, I'll take a couple of these miniatures. Oh, they're Fireball. They taste like cinnamon. I can throw one of them back and not really want to gag and throw up. I remember getting out to the parking lot, and I opened the miniature, and I threw it back, and I immediately felt that warm feeling go through my body and hit my toes, and it reminded me of when a pain pill would kick in. That warm blanket feeling that just slowly went through your body. And I remember thinking, man, I don't have to drink 12 of these to get this feeling. I could drink a couple and I'll be okay. So it started with me getting 3 or 4 of them, still drinking my 12 to 18 beers. Then the 18 beers went down to 12, and instead of me getting 4, now I'm buying a sleeve, which is 10 of them in a pack. 12 beers started to go down to 6, now I'm buying 2 sleeves. And then eventually, towards the last year and a half of my alcoholism, I was drinking 30 to 35 Fireball miniatures a day, and finishing them off with a 6-pack at night. So I knew it got bad when I would have to save 4 of them for the next morning just to get my feet on the floor. And I would wake up an hour early and drive to the liquor store that got up at 6 o'clock in the morning and was open. So I would have 10 of them with me because I knew at lunch I had to go to the next nearest liquor store closer to the job site and get another 10 to get me to 3 o'clock when I got off, so I could stop at another liquor store so I had 10 more on me during the middle of the night. And if I wasn't passed out by 8 o'clock, I would walk to the next liquor store, which was only a block away from my house, and get another 10, and usually I wouldn't be able to finish them, so I'd have 5 left over in the morning to get me going. It got to the point where I bought a brand new truck. I was coming home from the liquor store with my sleeve. I hit something. I still, to this day, have no idea what I hit. I don't know if it was a parked car, a median, a concrete barrier. I have no recollection. I do remember walking in the front door and telling my wife, I don't want to deal with this shit. I just wrecked my truck. I'm going to bed. And I remember passing out. And I was a blackout drunk. So whatever I did the night before didn't exist. It didn't happen. And I woke up the next morning and I said, good morning, everybody. How's everybody doing? Great sunny sunshine day. I'm going to the store and getting milk, bread, and eggs. What else we need for breakfast? And I just remember her looking at me and she was like, how are you going to do that? And I'm like, in my truck in the driveway. She said, go look at your brand new truck. And I go outside and the driver's side was fine. I'm like, what is she talking about? And I get over to the passenger side and my front tire is up underneath the bumper, side mirrors missing, front quarter pounder's all jacked up, and I'm just like, what the hell happened? And she pops her head out and looks at me and she says, "You have no idea what you hit last night, do you?" I said, "I have no idea." She said, "You could have killed yourself. You could have killed somebody else. I don't know what's going on with you, but you have to leave. I don't want you around the children anymore. Pack your bags and go somewhere." So I called AAA. They come over and put a spare tire on. I didn't give a shit about the quarter pan. I didn't give a shit about the mirror. And I packed my bags and I called my buddy and I said, "Hey man, can I come over for a few days? You know, let things cool down. I've been here before where I got to go stay at my mom's for a day or so. But after that, I can come on back." And he said, "Sure, man, come on over." So I go over to his house. We get to talking. It's Friday night. I just got kicked out of my house. I wrecked my truck. We might as well go to the bar. So, and to me, yeah, I have a justifiable reason. You know, I wrecked my truck the night before. I got kicked out. I'm sleeping on your couch. Yeah, let's go drink. So we go to the bar. I get shit-faced. As I'm leaving the bar, I rear end somebody at a red light. This isn't even 24 hours after wrecking it the first time. And I remember I get out. The guy had a tow hitch on the back of his vehicle, thank God. Not a scratch on his car whatsoever. But now my whole front of my bumper's all jacked up and beat in. And he gets out, and I'm like, "Are you okay?" He said, "Yeah, I'm okay." I'm like, "Well, your truck's okay. You're okay." Slapped him on his back. I was like, "I'm out of here, dude." Got in my car, jumped on the interstate, and I took off. I get back to his house, and I can't be here. I got to be by myself. I got to go think about stuff. I don't know what's going on in my life, but I just can't stay here. I got to go. I grab my bag, and I stop at the liquor store. I grab some sleeves of Fireball, and I go and I park my truck at a park and ride where you would park your vehicle for the day and get on the train or the bus and go to work, and you can come back at the end of the day and your car's parked there. And I turned my phone off. I didn't want to hear from nobody. I didn't want nobody to bother me. I just wanted to sit there and drink and just pretty much have a goddamn pity party of all the things that I've ruined, the disappointments in my life, all the fights I've started, all the jobs I've lost. You know, my parents are better off without me. They deserve a better son. My wife deserves a better husband. My kids deserve a better father. Really putting it on me. Every once in a while, I turn on a sad-ass song and then turn my phone off. And I sat there for 48 hours drinking and passing out and throwing up and drinking, passing out and throwing up. Finally, on March 5th, which when I said before, I didn't realize it. March 5th, 2017, I tried taking my own life. March 5th, 2021, I went to rehab. Again, no coincidence. Fast forward 4 years, and on the same day, 4 years earlier, I tried killing myself. I turned my phone on 7 after 10 in the morning, and 2 minutes later, 9 after 10, my phone rings out of nowhere. And I look down and it says Westchester, Pennsylvania. And I'm like, oh, it's a scam call or bill collector. I don't know anybody in Pennsylvania. But for some reason, I pick it up, and it's my childhood friend, Brandon Novak. I hadn't spoken to him in years. And he says, "Lodgen, what the fuck are you doing?" I said, "I'm cold, I'm drunk, I'm hungry, and I'm tired." And he says, "Good, motherfucker, that's what you need." He said, "I just got done talking to your mom and your wife. I got a plane ticket ready for you tonight. I got you into Banyan Treatment Centers down West Palm Beach, Florida. I need you to get on that plane and go get your life back." And I'm just like, "Yeah, okay, yep, cool, okay, I'll do it, yeah, okay." I didn't want to hear that. I didn't want to hear none of it. Hang up the phone. A couple minutes goes by. Now my phone's ringing off the hook because now I have it on. It's my wife. "Where are you? Been worried sick about you. We're about to fill a missing police report. Please come home." I talked to Brandon. "Pack your bags, take a shower, try to eat something, take a nap." I had about 4.5 hours before I had to be at the airport. So I go home, I take a shower, pack my bags. I couldn't eat nothing. I haven't eaten in 2 days. I've been straight up liquor and throwing up. My stomach's all jacked up. Now I'm having panic and attack and anxiety. I got to go to rehab in Florida. For how long? He didn't tell me any of this stuff.
Yeah.
30, 60, 90 days, a 6-month program. Holy shit. How
It was a 6-month program?
I didn't know. He didn't tell me anything. He just said, "Just get on the damn plane and get my life back." He gave me no details whatsoever. All I know is it's in Florida. I got to get on a plane, and my life's bad enough to where I got to go to rehab. Holy shit. How did this happen? I didn't see it happen. Like, My life is this bad where I got to go to a rehab center, inpatient. So I'm sitting on the edge of my bed and I'm talking myself out of going. Who's going to pay my truck payment? Who's going to keep the lights on? Who's going to put food in the fridge? Who's going to cut the grass? Meanwhile, none of that mattered 5 days ago. Because I was a drunk, I'd be passed out on the couch, or I'd get to it when I did. But now all of a sudden, all this stuff is so important. Who's going to do it? And I remember sitting on the edge of my bed, and I'm talking myself out of it. And I hear this. I honestly believe my addiction and my mental health knew it was the last time it would ever have a chance to take my life. And I hear this voice, and it says, you don't have to go to rehab. Take my hand and come with me, and I'll take the pain away. And I get up, and I go to the basement of my house, and I throw a rope around my neck, and it tells me to step off the bucket, and I will take this pain away. Again, no coincidence. As I'm stepping off the bucket, she realizes I'm not upstairs. I've been home for 3 hours. At the exact moment my left foot is coming off the bucket, she comes down the steps and screams at me, "What are you doing?" And it startles me back up onto the bucket. And she just looks at me and she says, "Do you know what this will do to your little girls? Please take that up from around your neck and get off the bucket and get on that plane." She's like, "If you get on that plane, everything's going to be okay." And I remember I get off the bucket, I fall to the floor, I cry for about 5 minutes, and I call my buddy Brandon, and I say, "Man, I got to go. If I don't get on this plane, this disease is going to kill me." And all he says is, "I'm proud of you, I love you, call me when you pass security. I want to make sure your ass is getting on the plane." Hour goes by, my mom picks me up, takes me to Baltimore Washington International, get past security, and I call Brandon. I'm like, "Hey man, I'm going. I got 35 minutes till I board the plane. I got my pass. I'm just waiting for them to call my boarding pass." And all he says is, I'm proud of you. I love you. You're about to get back everything that you've ever lost times 10. And he just hangs up the phone. What happened to me in that airport changed me forever. As I go to sit down at this seat in this airport, as I sit down, I get this overwhelming feeling of hope that engulfs my entire body. It was the same warm blanket feeling that drugs and alcohol gave me. It went through my entire body, except this time my pain, my worry, my doubt, my fear, my anxiety, and I truly believe my addiction was lifted out of my body. And I hear this woman's voice. I've never heard it before. I have never heard it since. It was loving and it was caring. And she simply says, everything is going to be okay. I believe I had a spiritual experience in that airport. As long as I believe that, then it happened. My life has never been the same since. And we talked about coincidences a little bit. I get to rehab, I meet this guy. I've never met him before in my life. Walks around rehab every day with a book. Doesn't talk to nobody. Keeps to himself. Finally one day I said, "Excuse me, what are you reading?" He said, "Oh, I read the Bible every day." I said, "Oh, well, you don't share it with nobody?" He goes, "No, what I believe is what I believe." He said, "You know, what works for you works for you. This works for me. It helps me get through it." He said, "But I'll tell you what, every morning before 9 o'clock meeting," he said, I have a bunch of people come over at the gazebo at 8:30. He goes, "I don't read anything that has to do with God." He said, "I read daily reflection, a word for the day, and it is a small prayer, but it's not, God-based. I don't know what your religion are." He said, "But I find it helps me and a couple people every morning, gets their jump start to the day." I said, "What time?" He said, 8:30. I said, "I'll be there." I'm like, what else I have to lose? I get to rehab. The doctors take all my vitals, and he pulls me in. He says, "Your liver and kidneys are failing. You're about to have a stroke. I don't know how you got here at this time," but he said, "But if you would have waited another month, you wouldn't have made it to the age of 47, even if you would have stopped." No coincidence that all happened in the exact timing needed to save my life. I go to this meeting. He reads a daily reflection, reads a prayer. The word for the day is hope. No coincidence. That little group of 5 turns into 15, turns into 20. It comes to the last day where he's graduating rehab, and he looks at me and he goes, I want this to go on. We've gone from 5 to 15 to 20 people that show up every morning. This message is working. I need somebody to carry the message. And he turns to me and he hands me the book, and I said, what are you doing? And he says, you're going to carry the message. I said, why'd you choose me? And he said, I didn't choose you. He chose you, and you're going to carry the message. So for the next 2 weeks, I wake up early, I read the message for the day, the daily reflection, and a prayer. It comes to Easter Sunday, and the Banyan Treatment Center is an old Holiday Inn, so it's a horseshoe. And in the middle is an in-ground pool, very nice place, right in West Palm Beach. I'm on the second floor. I come out, I got my book in my hand, come around the corner, come down the steps, and I get to the courtyard, and there's 65 people standing there. And the counselor walks over to me and she says, they're all waiting for you. And I said, what do you mean they're all waiting for me? She's like, it's Easter morning. They want to hear what you have to say this morning. But there's too many of you. You can't do it out here. We're going to open up the big room and have everybody sit down. You're going to get in front of everybody, and you're going to do this properly. So at the little 15-minute meeting, I got to see the word of the day, the prayer, and the daily reflection. A lady stands up. She's like, I'm a professional singer. Can I sing 3 songs? She stands up and sings 3 songs. The guy raises his hand in the back. He goes, I'm a pastor. Can I say some things? Mm-hmm. He says some things. So this little 15-minute meeting turns into an hour and 15-minute, I would say a sermon because it's Easter Sunday. It gets all said and done, and they clear out the room. I'm cleaning up and putting the chairs and stuff back, and 5 counselors and behavioral techs come up to me, and they're like, we've never seen anything like that. I'm like, what are you talking about? They're like, no, when you talk, people listen. There's something, people attract to you. You need to share your story. This is what you're here for. And I'm like, yeah, whatever. I'm just carrying a message like the guy asked me to do, thinking nothing of it. I found in rehab that there was no such thing as coincidences. In that place, I realized that this was all happening for me, not to me. My perspective of life changed in that rehab. Now, I don't know if it was because it was meant to or because I surrendered completely. And I said, show me what I need to do, why I'm here. I didn't go through those 27 years of pain and suffering and addiction and mental illness for no reason. It was because I was supposed to survive it. I was supposed to show other people that you can pull yourself out from the darkness and change your life and show them that there is light at the end of that darkness. You don't have to stay in that dark basement forever. You don't have to die there. My friend freely and willingly opened his hand out and said, I can help you. All you have to do is walk through the door. I did the work, but he gave me the opportunity, and I didn't let the opportunity pass. And I've taken full advantage of it. I truly believe that pain was meant for me to go through so I can have a purpose. Anybody can build houses. Anybody can remodel kitchens. Anybody can do that stuff, right? Not everybody can survive 27 years, suicide attempts, addictions, in and out of psych wards. Not everybody can survive that and come out of it knowing that it was all meant for me to go through. If I change that perspective of it's happening to me, not for me, then I got a black cloud following me forever? I got bad luck always? I'm doomed to have a destitute life and be miserable? No, I can't live that way. It's happening for me. I may not know what the reasons are or why or how long I have to go through this, but it led me to 3.5 years of sobriety. It led me to being on 122 podcasts around the world, 7 magazines, being voted Baltimore, Maryland's most inspirational person of 2023. It led me to film a TV show that comes out on Amazon Prime this month called Repurposed. It led me to meet a woman who understands me, doesn't judge me, and loves me for who I am, and possibly the best thing that's ever happened to me. it led me to these things for a reason. If I have to go through a little bit more pain and suffering, it just makes what comes at the end of it much more better. And it makes me more grateful for the things I do get.
I did wanna reflect on a few things. We had talked about the shift in perception, and from hearing your story, from the outside looking in, I would say that your shift in perception was backed by your spiritual experience. You know, that it wasn't just mental, like, hey, this is it's happening for me. You had a moment that you felt embodied.
Yeah.
That what I would say you felt loved, right? You felt hope. And that moment is, to me, the true catalyst for where you're at right now. It starts there. And then obviously the love around that from your friends and family, to embrace that love, to go to rehab, and to let that love propel you is powerful, you know. And the reason, you know, I'm a recovering addict as well. I've been sober for 5 years. You know, one of the things that keeps me going, it isn't the mental stuff, because I can outthink myself, right? We all can. It isn't do this, do that, this step, that step. It's me going back to that moment of love, of truly feeling that, and believing that this is the truth. The truth that I felt when I had a similar spiritual experience too, but the truth that I felt in that moment of being loved and accepted, I try and let my life emanate from that. And you know, I think you had the same thing. I think you had a moment with the divine, and it changed your life.
100%.
And I think it's beautiful, and powerful.
It's unfortunate that not everybody gets to experience that. Because
But it's there.
I
I like that people don't have to experience that and still go through life, like, you know, because, you know, because it's there, right? It's the breath of our life. It's the family. It's your friendships. It's your passions, your dreams. But when you're so depressed and broken down, you have forgotten about all of those things.
Yeah.
And you do need that force to, like, kind of recharge you a little bit.
Yeah. Hey, wait a minute. You're not alone.
Yeah.
I compare it to, you go and buy a new car, right? You pull up to a four-way stop, and it's on every side. And you're like, where the hell did all these Jeeps come from? Yeah. Those Jeeps have always been on the road.
Yeah.
You just never noticed them. But now that you have one, you see them everywhere. Those signs have always been there your entire life. You were just blind and you never saw them. They've always been there. Forever. You just finally opened your eyes and you're able to see it.
I have one last question for you. You had that gentleman in rehab who told you, you know, you carry the message now. How would you describe the message that you carry?
It explains why I had to go through what I went through. It has given me purpose. If I can help one more person, that's one less we lose to this disease of mental health and addiction. That's one less person that feels alone. That's one less person that feels misguided or misunderstood. One less person that doesn't have to be embarrassed or ashamed. That one person that I could possibly have the opportunity to help, I may not meet him. I may not meet her. But that one person could be ended up changing the world. Helping one person is a ripple effect that goes on beyond generations of your life. I could help somebody that they get married and have children, and those children end up seeing the person that I help never pick up a drink or a drug. That children can grow up to invent something to change the world because of something simple and small to me that I could just help. And I think I was chosen to carry a message of hope because I have a bigger purpose than I could ever imagine. I'm just sharing my story that's showing people that I could get out of it. But is that all it is?
It's way more than that.
Yeah, I may never ever know it, ever. But man, to think about the possibilities of maybe I could change somebody's life, that could change somebody's life, that could change the world, that's pretty,
I think that's how true
pretty
love.
awesome.
I think that's how true love actually works. I think true love doesn't need the result. It doesn't need the gratification. It does it to do it.
Yeah,
It's part of its essence. And I think when you're in the world of giving back and service, you know you're never gonna see the results that truly light up your soul, and it's a part of the work, but it gives you peace at night.
it does. I mean, look, I work full time in a treatment center. Last month we had 71 clients. This month we're already at 50. I've seen hundreds and hundreds of clients come through in the past year. I'm going to say a dozen of them are still sober, right? But those dozen keep me coming back every day. Because when you see that light on in their eyes, that change, the way that they look at life differently now, how they see that hope. Out of the hundreds that didn't make it, the dozen and a half that you see their life completely change in front of you, there is no amount of money that could ever fulfill that. There's no car, there's no boat, there's no hot woman, there's nothing that fulfills that feeling inside as seeing somebody pick up and change their life and become the person they were always meant to be.